Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. Long before Spice or Shensia, before Patra, and even before Sophia George let the world know that her man was too girly, you had Sister Nancy, the first true female superstar DJ and the original queen of the dancehall. In 1976, the dancehall scene was a gritty and grimy men's affair, with various sound systems jostling for supremacy, with fierce rivalries between DJs that sometimes turned ugly in the streets, but were mostly settled in lyrical battles in sound clashes. The godfathers of that era were the likes of U-Roy, I-Roy, Big Youth, and Dennis Al Capone. But the young guns bringing the heat were fire-spitting heavy hitters like Josie Wales, Prince Jazzbo, Nicodemus, Yellow Man, and Ranking Joe, a hyper-competitive field that wasn't for the faint-hearted. It was from this testy environment that a bold and plucky 14-year-old girl began to DJ at sound systems in Kingston. Today, it's not that spectacular, but was an amazing feat considering how different the world was when she first held a microphone for the first time in 1976. She quickly carved a space for herself with her poise, confidence, swagger, and her unbelievable MCing talent, which would earn her street credibility as a wicked DJ who not only attained legendary status but also delivered just one of the most copied and sampled reggae tracks of all time. Her story would make for a great movie and reads like fiction, but is indeed among one of the most interesting tales in reggae music history. Sister Nancy's story began on the 2nd of January in 1962 in the Papine area of Kingston, just a few months before Jamaica would get independence. She was born O'Flynn Russell, the fifth child of a pastor father and housewife mother. Like many pastors' children, she took a passionate liking to music as a young child, but she only began to consider becoming an artist due to the influence of her elder brother, Robert, who was heavily interested in becoming a musician, and he began to hang around sound systems as a teenager. Young Robert was fortunate to become one of U-Roy's apprentices at the Sturgav Hi-Fi sound system, an extremely popular outfit that was something of a dancehall DJ's academy. Sturgav would produce future legends like Josie Wales, Frankie Paul, and Ranking Trevor. Young Robert would adopt the stage name of Brigadier Jerry and went on to make a name for himself on the island, eventually featuring with several sound systems around Jamaica. His kid sister, O'Flynn, enjoyed tagging along and would watch her big brother perform night after night, and with time, she began to nurse ideas of her own. The clout that came with having one of the hottest DJs in Jamaica as her elder brother opened doors for her to start toasting at the age of 14 as a bit part DJ at various sound systems around Kingston. But it was her immense talent that helped her bag her first stable job as a DJ with an outfit called the Stereophonic Sound System, where she began to go by the stage name of Sister Nancy. Amazingly, she achieved this feat while still in high school and did a fantastic job of combining both worlds and would graduate in 1978. Even though she missed her graduation ceremony as she was on her way to a DJing gig in Negril on the same day. Now done with school and free to fully pursue her passion, she would cut her first record in 1979, a wonderful album that was titled 1-2. The opportunity to cut this record came when she met producer Winston Riley, the owner of Techniques Records. Her story with Winston Riley began when she was introduced to him by a senior DJ and mentor called General Echo, who took her to Riley's studio where she recorded her first tracks, which were Money Can't Buy Love and 1-2. When 1-2 hit the streets, it became a big hit in Jamaica, prompting Riley to reach out to her a few months later about doing an album. But at that time, she didn't have up to 10 songs to make up a standard album. So for help, she did what any teenage younger sibling would do. She reached out to her big brother, Brigadier Jerry, who was now a major star in Jamaica, and he would give her 7 tracks, meaning she now had 9 in total, but still needed one more to complete her debut. She had been toying with an idea in her mind, but wasn't planning to include it in her album as she felt it just wasn't good enough. And that idea was a song called Bam Bam. But as fate would have it, one day while in the studio where Yellow Man was recording, she observed him voicing a song that had the lyrics Bam Bam in it. This would give her a rush of inspiration and confidence to record her own version of Bam Bam and make it the 10th track on her soon-to-be debut. So she called Winston Riley on the phone and told him that she was ready to finish her album. And when she got to the studio, she began to write lyrics down. But when it was time to begin and she stepped into the recording booth, she ditched her notepad and began to freestyle into the microphone. And the result was a magnificent, badass track that would become one of the most sampled, copied, and influential reggae tunes of all time. One that's been adopted and used by hundreds of artists over more than 4 decades. The album won too, was eventually released in 1982 and was a hit in Jamaica, but Bam Bam as a single was blowing up overseas. The song first exploded in popularity in the US after hip-hop pioneer Africa Bambaataa played the track one night at a popular nightclub in New York City where he was DJing. But unfortunately, due to the wily practices of Winston Riley, Sister Nancy had no idea of how much of a smash hit that Bam Bam was overseas. Her career roared off to a blistering start, and in the same year, she broke new records, including being the first woman to perform at the Reggae Splash in 1982, as well as the first female dancehall artist to embark on an international tour when she made her debut in the UK that year with a performance at the Brixton Town Hall in London. I can't stress enough the fact that she was no token. She was an incredibly gifted artist who oozed confidence, both in the studio and on the live stage, where she would boss podiums with the grace of a lioness stalking its prey as she wowed audiences with her brilliant flows. A quality of hers, which I also adored, was her devotion to keeping her lyrics clean and totally free of slackness, instead focusing on positive messages for spiritual upliftment and just pure fun and entertainment. But in 1985, at the absolute peak of her career, she would fall in love with one Mr. Myers and got married, and this would lead her to devote her time and energy to starting a family. And after almost 10 years since she first picked up the microphone, she left it all behind and retired. In her absence, other female DJs began to fill that void and would start staking their own claims to the throne of the Queen of the Dancehall. She would move to the US in 1996 to start a new life, and it was after she arrived that she discovered that Bam Bam had been a huge record which had become engrafted deeply in American pop culture. It had been used in movies, TV commercials, and had been sampled by many artists. She would explore avenues to get some form of compensation, but due to the inherent weaknesses in Jamaican recording contracts for artists, including the one she had signed, she was unable to get a penny in royalties, and eventually discovered that Winston Riley had been collecting those royalties over the years. At that time, she was really struggling financially, so after many attempts to get compensation, she gave up and went back to school to study for a diploma in accounting, and would eventually get a job as a teller in a bank in New Jersey, hoping to move on and forget all about music once and for all. She did her best to look away for 14 years, but kept on hearing Bam Bam everywhere. The straw that broke the camel's back came in 2014 when she heard the song being used in an advert for Reebok sneakers, as well as in the 2014 hit comedy The Interview. She got really angry this time and hired a good lawyer to fight for her royalties, and eventually she won a huge decision against the estate of Winston Riley. The court would award her payment of royalties for the previous 10 years, as well as 50% rights to her debut album 1-2. Now with this hefty payout and the stream of cash that began to come from the heavy usage of Bam Bam by the likes of Lauryn Hill, Jay-Z, Major Lazer, Kanye West, and Cat De Luna, Sister Nancy didn't need to work at the bank anymore. She retired in 2016 and returned to her first love, which was performing live music. She made her glorious comeback with a fantastic performance at the London Jazz Cafe in 2018 in front of an ecstatic audience which had been thirsty to see her in the flesh after more than 3 decades away. Since then, she's been busy headlining shows around the globe, thrilling both old and new fans. It's an amazing testament to her astounding quality as an artist that she's amassed such an immense fan base despite having only one album, which came out 40 plus years ago. She was the archetype of the quintessential female DJ who opened the floodgates for the numerous ladies of dancehall who have emerged over the years. Her success is an encapsulation of the saying that good music never dies. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, God bless.